This is All About Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things, questions, and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Let's take a look at Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is up over 6% over the past 24 hours, trading at $31,674. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as a leader in crypto news, events, and data. So why this bump? Well, as Bitcoin rises, quantum economics founder Mati Greenspan saying the bump may be partially attributed to anticipation of the B word, that is, a virtual conference featuring Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, Twitter and Square CEO Jack Dorsey, and ARK Invest's Cathie Wood. The conference is already generating headlines. It's underway. Elon Musk repeated his concerns of Bitcoin's carbon footprint and revealed that in addition to Tesla and his own personal holdings of Bitcoin, SpaceX, a private company, is also holding BTC. Have a listen.
I do own Bitcoin, and Tesla owns Bitcoin, SpaceX owns Bitcoin, and I do personally own a bit of Ethereum and Dogecoin, of course.
Musk further saying that Tesla would likely resume accepting Bitcoin and might pump, and that rather Musk might pump, but won't dump his crypto holdings.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
Kraken OTC Daily noting that crypto long liquidations were elevated in recent days, saying absence of momentum in one direction or another hasn't stopped investors from trying to call the top or bottom. Month-to-date crypto long liquidations stack up with each successive move lower in BTC's price. So in this chart, we see that crypto long liquidation setting higher highs as Bitcoin slipped below 30,000 on Tuesday. Kraken saying over the past 24 hours, out of 450 million worth of crypto liquidations, 87% have been from longs. According to Alameda Research, quant trader Sam Trabucco, while yesterday's sell-off was partially driven by liquidations, it was less than expected, and quantum economics echoing the fact that Bitcoin broke below the 30,000 psychological level after weeks of testing and didn't immediately continue downward is actually a very bullish signal. And joining us now to discuss is Paul Eisma, head of trading at crypto finance firm XBTO Group. Welcome to the show, Paul. So what do you make of Bitcoin's rebound that we're seeing today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. You see, obviously the equity market's rallying. We're really just in part of this, this broader medium-term range, as well as, in other words, from 30 to 40, then it shrunk to 30 to 35. And I think it was, very healthy to test below 30. It didn't run, perpetual funding rates, the cash and carry rates are, they're at healthy, non-extreme levels that would give support below 30. There's, stable coins that are decently healthy. So I think, there's a lot of money that's going to be put to work below 30.
Any truth to this B word event giving Bitcoin a boost? Elon Musk saying that SpaceX holds Bitcoin, that's a bullish sign, or are you not surprised?
Yeah, I think, listen, it's Elon is going to do what Elon does. I think, there's going to be a diminishing return on, previously what he said, and then obviously what he's going to say currently, and then in the future, people are aware of what he's doing, and then potentially this resuming of accepting Bitcoin as a payment for Tesla. It's out there. I think it will be positive. I think it will be treated differently. Again, the point of diminishing returns than the initial spike up that we had when he originally proclaim that.
Right.
There's a couple of charts floating out there that if you can actually see where Elon first tweeted and then when he took it down, I mean, that leaves us basically at this 30 to 35 level, right? So without Elon, we would be here anyway. So I think,
XBTO Group, you guys are huge. You have OTC desk trading, a lot of finance offerings. Do you see institutions building positions
Oh yeah, no, for sure. There's again, these are the conversations, and there was money to put to work. Like I said, I think could we test below 30 even deeper? Sure. I mean, but these are levels that I think are going to be more compelling to smart money, to put money to work. We did see that over, the past couple of days, but again, it's a narrative that's been out there. Again, it's the on-chain fundamentals. I understand are maybe not so bullish. The active addresses, how many times people are Googling, Bitcoin and crypto, things like, miners but like I said, this is this level, the 30K level, has been spoken about for quite a long time, and I think, like I said, institutional gunpowder is going to be ready and willing to deploy capital, and I think they've started to.
Paul, as I get attacked by a vicious fly, I wanted to talk to you about, I mentioned liquidations before. What other metrics are you watching?
Yeah, I mean, it's, listen, I think it's got to be more than just price and technicals. Crypto and, Bitcoin obviously trades beautifully in some sense using technical analysis, but at the end of the day, it's really reading tea leaves, right? It's, I guess there's a lot of further analysis that you can do on chain to kind of check what's not in price. So, I don't want to, I guess, speak of, any, investment or recommendations, but there are some, like I said, it's, what are the miners doing? What are, stable coins, the reserves are doing, what the inflows and outflows of exchanges are doing. There's a lot that you can get from doing sort of the quantitative analysis on chain that doesn't necessarily have to do with price.
Okay. And so, you mentioned that there could still be lower lows. So how are you hedging your risk?
That's a good question. I'm in charge of the derivatives book here, so the options book. So we provide liquidity, obviously, in blocks and then algos on, the primary options exchange Deribit and on the CME as well. So, I'm long gamut to the downside, so I'm prepared to be buying down there for sure. Implieds have sold off since we, in the initial sell-off where, implied vols did spike up. But like I said, we've been stuck in this medium-term 30-40 range, and then 30 to 35K range, which has seen implieds sell off. Realize has been really compressed. Skew is still for the downside, but like I said, it's a narrative that's been out there, so I think people should be prepared. I don't think people are surprised. I think, the surprise is when it goes beyond the level that the market expects, and that's when sort of, volatility really gets bid up. So yeah, I mean, it's, I guess that's how I'm using, I'm basically using, the options market to trade volatility.
You mentioned that the skew is positioned for the downside, it is, so to be prepared for making lower lows. But the fact that it didn't make a lower low yesterday, or today rather, is that a good sign or perhaps a bullish sign?
Yeah, it's really tough to say because we're really stuck in this, like I said, the medium-term range. I mean, we need to really break out of the range. Sure, I think it's short-term bullish, right? But we're, I guess 9 days from the end of the month, the big expiry. There has been a tendency for spot to sort of drift lower into the end of months and then rally once, sort of the positions are, cleaned out. Granted, I understand this is a bit of a different dynamic given tells this cone that we've been trading downwards. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sort of neutral at these levels because we still are in this broader range. Is it really, buy 30, sell 35, or buy 30, sell 40, perhaps? But like I said, without, you can look at on-chain for some clues. It's always obviously very hard to tell. But without sort of purely fundamental catalysts, for example, maybe some sort of reading on an ETF, when that may get approved, or perhaps, let's just see the diminishing return of, like a Jack Dorsey at Twitter, Elon. There's a lot of, okay, so I spoke about on-chain fundamentals, the off-chain fundamentals, which is, basically, private capital coming into the space, the FTX valuation, Jack announcing, the DeFi project on, the Bitcoin protocol. I mean, these are all very positive. So, those that are, sort of can see, I guess, from, not only within the trees and the weeds, but, the bigger picture. We're here to stay. It is, yes, there's sort of less interest levels, but I guess it's always been that way, right? It's you really want to buy low, sell high, but it seems that there's greater interest at higher levels, which means I guess you're buying high to sell higher, which you can make money that way as well. So,
Paul, we got to wrap it up, unfortunately. But thank you very much for your analysis. Appreciate your insights on this day. All right, that was XBTO Group Head of Trading, Paul Eisma. Coming up, Bitcoin price, or rather, we'll have some news from a panelist from the B Word Conference with Hester Peirce, Commissioner at the SEC.
CoinDesk Indexes, the market standard for crypto assets since 2014. Our trusted data powers billions in publicly traded funds. CoinDesk Indexes are the standard used by institutions, and they're the key for investors looking to understand and access crypto markets.
CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index, XBX, has been instrumental to Grayscale, enabling investors around the world to access Bitcoin through a regulated, familiar product.
CoinDesk Indexes enabled the early adopters to build crypto investment vehicles, and they're already trusted by a new generation of global investors.
Welcome back. So our next guest earned the nickname Crypto Mom in 2018 after disagreeing with the SEC's decision to reject a Bitcoin ETF. She's one of the panelists of today's The B Word Virtual Live event. Please welcome Commissioner Hester Peirce of the SEC. Welcome, Commissioner.
It's great to be here.
So you're about to go on a panel live in a couple hours, so thank you for joining us ahead of time. But what is the purpose of this conference, and what do you hope to get out of it?
Well, I think it's just good to have a conversation about the latest developments. There's a lot happening in this space from a regulatory perspective and from a market perspective as well. And so I think I'm just one of the regulatory voices.
Great. Well, regulating cryptocurrencies is gaining a lot of attention in the United States. Senator Warren is asking the SEC to clarify its authority to regulate crypto exchanges and to determine what extent Congress should jump in and potentially close any existing gaps in regulation. So are you part of that process? What is the status of that in determining an answer?
Well, ultimately, and I should say I speak for myself and not necessarily anyone else at the SEC or the SEC itself, but I think that we take our lead from what Congress tells us to do. So when they give us the authority to do something, we can do it. Right now, we don't have authority over spot exchanges for Bitcoin or other crypto unless those digital assets are indeed securities.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of attention on stablecoins as well right now. Do you see private stablecoins coexisting with a digital dollar?
Yeah, I mean, in some sense, the stablecoins are a more exciting option than a central bank digital currency. They're competing stablecoins now, and so I think that they can function in a very similar way to a government-run currency, and don't have the same kinds of privacy concerns that a government CBDC might have.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that conversation's ongoing. We had Caitlin Long, the CEO of Avanti Bank, earlier on CoinDesk TV, saying that there's a drumbeat among policymakers in D.C. to regulate the on and off ramps of fiat to control crypto. Do you think what do you think of that approach?
Well, look, I think there is, an awakening in DC now to realizing that crypto is here to stay, and we have to think clearly about how to regulate it. And I think one of the pieces that people think a lot about is anti-money laundering, know your customer type requirements, and how those will apply in the crypto world. And so one of the ways that you can think about it is that because a lot of crypto is decentralized, it doesn't have any intermediaries. That's the point. The point at which the regulation would attach would be when you go from the more traditional financial world into the decentralized world. And so those are the on-ramps. So, again, I think we just need to make sure that we're not applying a new set of AML requirements that doesn't apply in the traditional world to the crypto world, which means we don't want to have peer-to-peer transactions fall into the same bucket as transactions with centralized intermediaries.
And just one last question before I let you go. I know you have limited time, but Binance is facing a global regulatory crackdown. Do you see a path to make them more compliant, or are they an example of a crypto exchange that just grew too fast and perhaps recklessly compared to others like Coinbase and Bitstamp, which have tried to play the long game with regulation?
Well, I certainly can't speak to any particular entity. What I will say is that I think a lot of entities are trying to figure out how they can operate in this environment where there's not enough clarity around the rules. And so that's something that we can work on. If we set clear rules, then it will be clear which entities want to comply and which don't. And so that's the best thing we can do, is set clear rules. And then when people don't follow those rules, we can go out and bring enforcement actions against them.
All right. Commissioner, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to your talk on the panel at the B Word event later on today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Right. That was SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. You're watching CoinDesk TV.